Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce lab by Ecomcy, the place where everything related to Amazon FBA, private label, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy. Today, we bring you another special guest. His name is Klaidas, and he's the founder and CEO of AMZ Bees, which is actually a full-service Amazon agency that help you manage and scale your brand on Amazon. Because I know Klaidas has extensive experience when it comes to different areas in the Amazon ecosystem. I think he's going to be a very good guest to discuss one of the topics, which is going to be the honeymoon period. We're also going to be talking about something about PPC, SEO strategy. So we're going to keep it very interesting for all of you so you can get the best out of the conversation. So let me not delay this further, Klaidas. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming. How you doing today?
Thank you for having me. Hi everyone. I'm doing all right. It's really a pleasure being here after we
Thank
met
you.
several times in different conferences and hang around finally, on your podcast hang out with you
Yeah.
with your audience.
For sure, yeah, 100%. Thank you. I always have been following your work for a while now. I know what you do with your agency, so for sure it's a pleasure to have you here. And I'm pretty sure that you're gonna share a lot of the, as we call them, gold nuggets in the Amazon industry for
Well,
our audience
you know
today.
what they say. You know what they say. Like if you listen to one podcast or read one book or go to a conference, just get one thing. Just get one
That's
thing
it.
that you can take action on and implement in your business, and it's going to be worth it. Like,
That's
I,
correct. That's correct. That's amazing. Yeah, for sure. So I think before we jump for sure on today's topic, I always like to give a few minutes to my guests to introduce themselves. So please feel free to tell us how you went into the e-commerce industry, how you went into opening MSBs and your agency, and let's go from there. Yeah, let's do it.
yeah, sure. So, funny thing. So, when usually people, start talking about themselves and, telling what their background is. So funny thing is my background is Amazon. So like I've spent in the Amazon account management sphere a third of my life.
Okay.
So, so
I see.
I started when I was 15, and my parents, they have several businesses, and one of them was manufacturing business. So I took their
That's right.
products, started selling them, just managing their account. I wasn't selling it myself, just my parents' account. So I kind of put those products, 400 SKUs on Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and Amazon took off. So within the first couple of years, we hit seven figures in revenue
That's amazing.
with that
Yeah,
business. And I was still in school back then, and
I see.
mainly I had no courses, nothing that kind of helped me or kind of pushed me in the right direction. I was just trying to learn from Amazon help, Amazon help, and
Yeah,
Amazon forums and some
that's
tidbits of
it.
information, free information that you find on YouTube. Yeah, but later on, after I finished my military training, I generally started engaging with the local community in Lithuania that we have now. In a country of 2.5 million people, we have a really strong 4,700 Amazon sellers community, in the Facebook group.
Wow,
Like,
that's nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all Lithuanian sellers, but I think it was like 2018 when I started speaking. I started engaging with the audience. I started posting a lot, and generally my intentions were just to share the tips and see if I can learn something and find
Yeah,
other like-minded people, in my country.
that's
And
great.
it slowly started kind of from there. And so in the last 4 years, like I founded the agency. Now we have a team of 15, 16 people. We built several multi seven-figure brands. We
Congrats, man.
scaled one of our clients, one product brand from like 50K a month to last year we did like 20 million. This year we're
Wow,
estimating about 40, 60 million, something like that, one
wow.
product.
I
So
bet you get a lot of emails from aggregators now with those.
yeah, 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 that's that's for sure. So generally, what we do is the full account management. Like, we take care of the
Yeah,
PPC part, we take care of the content, we take care of the strategy, and mainly, our goal is just to allow our clients, because the majority of our clients have real world businesses, and Amazon is just one of the channels. So the main goal is to kind of take off Amazon from their hands, because this is what I've been doing for the majority of my life, and this is what I love doing, and where I think my strengths lie. Not in sourcing or product research or things like that. It's mainly what do you need to do to get more sales and build your brand on Amazon. So that's my story in short.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, thank you for sharing. I love your background, how you basically use your parents' business to scale on Amazon. Then you use
We
that
still manage
experience
them.
too. Yeah. I mean, then now they're your clients basically. Your parents.
It's more of a barter system. We don't really charge them money. But we still manage their business, obviously. Not
That's
myself
amazing.
anymore, but my team.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I think you're gonna find a lot of people in the space. Usually, the way we jump into the agency space is because we have discovered that from the experience we gain scaling our businesses, there's definitely opportunity on business that's struggling, right, when it comes to Amazon. And then we are there for sure to come with a team and help them reach that milestone of scaling on Amazon.
I think it kind of goes out to the strengths that you have, because like majority of the entrepreneurs that sell on Amazon, like they really have strong product development skills. They have strong sourcing skills. Like I don't have experience in that. I technically I could launch a product, could hire people who have experience in that and kind of grow, the Amazon channel that way. But I prefer to, or I think
on what you know.
You partner up with businesses that have those skills and have those assets, and you can combine it in the partnership. Then this is how you have an agency.
For sure. The perfect combination. That's great. Man. Good. So I think now that for sure you gave this amazing introduction, and that clearly explains your experience on the Amazon space. I think we can start with one of a first questions of the day regarding today's topic. And as I said at the beginning of the episode, we're going to be talking about honeymoon period. And I think honeymoon period for sure is something that you deal, your team deals with it a lot when it comes to scaling brands and launching new products, because the reality is each time you launch a new product, you go through the honeymoon period. So could you take a few minutes to explain what is the honeymoon period and how you basically take advantage of it?
So in a way, there are like two camps. Some people are saying that honeymoon is a myth. Some people like strongly believe that honeymoon exists. In any case, like whether you're in the camp that says honeymoon's not real, it doesn't exist, or you're the camp that truly believes it, you still have to follow some basic principles when you're launching your product, right? In our agency and overall, when I'm launching products, we assume that the honeymoon period exists, because not in all cases, but we had, quite a lot of different cases where we saw proof in the data that it does exist, or at least it did for our products. The honeymoon period is said to be 30-45-day period from your first FBA sale, where the algorithm treats you differently because they don't have any data about your product. So what the algorithm has to do, they have to proactively put you in front of more people, or easier, right? Without any awesome conversion data, without any insane traffic, outside traffic, whatever data, because you just don't have any data, right? You have from the first sale, 30 days when the algorithm is just testing your product, it's just seeing where does it stick. And you're, as a seller or a PPC manager or account executive role, is to make sure that during that 30-day, 45-day, whatever period, you get the best performance possible. Because after that period, and you won't see this in every single case, we see it usually in a very high volume products. After that honeymoon period, your performance just drops, and you have to adapt your strategy, adapt your PPC strategy, adapt your numbers to where again you can profitably grow and scale the business, right? Or unprofitably, depending on what your goals and capital is. I think that kind of explains what honeymoon is, right?
Amazing. I think for sure honeymoon period is super important when it comes to launching a product. And I feel a lot of people, when they launch a product, if they don't understand this properly, and I bet you have seen this on some brands that you guys onboarded, they didn't took advantage of it. They just created a listing, maybe didn't pay any attention, and 6 months later, okay, let's actually work on this product.
And they get 1 or 2 sales, and they're saying like, why is it not selling? Like you have to be proactive yourself and help the algorithm. Like even let's say, even if you think that the honeymoon period isn't real, you still want to get as much good data to the algorithm as possible. So the principle, your actions, they still should remain the same.
Reflect.
And I've consulted a lot of clients back in the day when I was doing a lot of that, and like I see accounts and I see businesses where
it happens.
They list a product, they don't prepare PPC, they don't prepare good content for it, they don't prepare any strategy, any launch strategy, and they get a few sales, and they're like, that's awesome. Where at the when they actually realize that they do need advertising, when they do need better copy, when they do need the SEO, they already lost the honeymoon period. There are ways to get it back, but
for sure, 100%
right now.
So yeah, I think you touched on something very interesting, which is the copy. I think the copy, from my personal perspective, is also super important, because regardless of you understanding what is the honeymoon period and having a strategy, if you don't have the right keywords and phrases and the right placement within your listing from day one, you're still gonna waste that juice that's gonna contribute to your listing and the keywords in terms of organic ranking. So can you briefly touch also on how you take advantage in terms of SEO strategy to prepare your listings to make sure that when it launches, you're really going full power when it comes to getting advantage of what we just discussed, which is a honeymoon period?
So we don't write copy ourselves. I'm not sure if I can. So shout out to 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝐶, like our agency, like we work with 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝐶, badass copy builders for the last year and a half. But it's still like, we as an agency, we are the ones developing the strategy, the launch strategy, the product strategy. So we do create the list of exact keywords that we want to make sure we have either in the title or in the first 3 bullets, up to 1,000 bytes long. So I think where we put more emphasis, in the copy itself, is the exact match, because these will be the keywords that we will be advertising on exact match with higher bids, and we want to show the algorithm that yes, this is the product that you think it is, or yes, this is the product that it actually is, and this is the placement where it needs to be placed. Something that I'm not sure how common it is, within the professional Amazon seller space, is when we're launching a product, we, like in the honeymoon period, in the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, we leave the search terms tab empty. So we don't put in.
Interesting.
We do put in the browse through guide filters, all the filters that kind of, you can filter your products by on search results, but we don't include the search terms unless we have something very specific in there that just kind of missed the copy. And the reason we do that is we don't want to confuse the algorithm, with extra terms, even if they're in Spanish, even if they're like misspellings, even if they're like, you're selling crepa makers, but you put in the word electric, right? It's completely different category. So we want to make sure that in like the first 2 or 3 weeks, we do the product mapping kind of thing with the PPC. We make sure we have the exact keywords in the copy, and then what we do, we launch ASIN targeting campaign with like 5 to 10 top ASINs in your niche, like top competitors, and top 5 to top 10 exact match keywords with fixed bids and usually relatively high placements. And the main goal is we keep checking Cerebro or other tools that show you what your product is indexed for, the keywords they're indexed for, and the main goal is to gather as much organic keywords indexed that are relevant as possible. And after this usually 1 or 2 week period, after the product mapping, we launch an aggressive auto campaign for a couple of days, and we pause it. We take usually 24 hours to check what we see, to check where the algorithm is putting our products, our product after this first 2 weeks, and then we go in through the normal kind of routine of launching the product. A lot of so we use in most cases we use 1 target per campaign structure, where usually we exact match or the most important ASINs, they are in their separate campaigns. It's a hassle to manage, but if you're using different tools or you're using a lot of Excel files, it's
you
not
can
a
handle
problem.
it. Yeah,
exactly. If you have 1 product, like you definitely can handle a couple hundred campaigns. But for example, for broad match, we usually in the beginning we don't go overboard with the broad match, or we don't go overboard with the auto campaigns, because in the beginning you can get a lot of good data from the tools, from different tools that Amazon is now giving you, and from HELLOTAX, Cerebro Magnet, Jungle Scout, right? Probably you guys know how to do keyword research, so you can get a good amount of initial keywords that make sense. So don't go overboard in the first kind of 30 days, with a broad targeting. Like, you still kind of want to probably broad targets your main keywords, but we don't go overboard. After the honeymoon period, after we have stable sales and we have good organic ranking in the keywords, in the long tail keywords where we can, this is the time where we try to kind of reach the inch deep mile wide. Like then we try to get as much keywords as possible. We go very broad in that specter of advertising kind of structures. We still try to maintain our organic ranks through high placements, exact bids, one keyword per campaigns, because this is the best method that we found so far that helps maintain the ranking or increase the ranking if your product actually fits in there. So for example, let's say we're selling phone cases, right?
Yeah.
And you're selling different designs, some flowers, maybe some marble designs, and the target audience is women. You shouldn't be targeting iPhone 13 Pro Max phone case. This is an extremely expensive keyword. Technically it fits, like it does fit your product, but when you go look at the first and the second page, nothing like your product appears. Like,
for sure,
it appears a lot of like the one
generic
color
ones.
cases, generic cases, cheap cases. If you're selling a premium one, you're gonna go to marble phone cases, or you're gonna go to cute, polka dots,
very niche, basically.
You're gonna go long term, right? Long tail for the keywords where you really can rank. And
for sure, and that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, first of all, you share the first gold nugget of the day, we call it, which is the search term thing. It's actually the first time I heard that, and it sounds very interesting. I'm going to check it out.
Trying to just confuse the algorithm. That's I wouldn't. If I was a seller or an agency, like, there's no huge benefit in the beginning to just spam as much keywords as possible. Like, you're not.
That's correct.
The algorithm isn't going to utilize all of them. Like, there's just no way in the beginning.
I think the fear that some people may have when it comes to search terms is because they have the misbelief that if you leave search terms empty, your product is not going to index for any keyword, it's not going to rank and all that. But actually, I like how you explain why you do it. It's basically what you're doing is giving a white paper in terms of giving that to Amazon and letting Amazon tell you what are the best keywords when it comes to PPC and your reports. And then I guess you use that data to then re-optimize your initial listing to get the full juice of organic ranking and everything, right?
The main key here is that you really do need to have a well-optimized listing copy. That's the key. And if you do, then you realize that there's not a lot of additional keywords that you can input into the search terms bar, right?
Yeah.
And when you understand that is then, after the 30 days or like 45 days, your initial launch, then you start finding new keywords that maybe HELLOTAX didn't tell you about, or they were too small for you to even go through your filters. But you find that you're selling on those soft indexing keywords through your PPC, and you're like, correct. Well, okay, so my listing looks good now. It doesn't really make sense for me to put this keyword in, but I can use this word in my backend search term. So like, you still have the, if you're a brand registered seller in the US, you have 249 bytes without the spaces, right? So you have a lot of space there. But if you cram everything, that doesn't make sense, in the beginning, you're just going to confuse the algorithm. You're going to overpay, and most likely you're going to index for not necessarily super relevant terms. After your product is settled, you have a strong foundation, you can put in words that don't necessarily 100% fit your product. Like, that's fine.
Good. That's amazing. And you also touched on indexing, which for sure is the end goal of doing this. And I think it will be nice if you can explain just overall what is the troubleshooting a person should do when they use a tool, as you mentioned, as keyword indexing Helium-10, and they check they are not indexing, what is usually the first plan of action you should do in terms of PPC or listing to fix the keywords that is not indexing for you?
So, first of all, like the first step is we're not even looking at PPC or the listing or the tools. The first step is checking the category.
That's good. Yeah.
So basically on Amazon, you have three types of categories. You have general ledger that defines your overall placement in the fee structures, that defines what your product is. General ledger doesn't define your keywords. Then you have the feed type. This is the flat file category that defines, which different variations you could have, which different fields you can have, etc. It doesn't define your product's keywords again, right? And then you have the browse node or browse path, and this is the category that you get the bestsellers badges on, that you get the new release badges on. This is the type of category that defines your keywords. So every single subcategory, Amazon has huge lists of keywords for that, or keyword variations for that subcategory. And if your product or your listing product detail page isn't correctly linked to the browse path, to the browse node, and doesn't have a BSR, for example, that is a technical glitch and error from the Amazon side. And we had that a lot of times. Usually it's a one-time fix and then it's fine. But sometimes you have situations where the product doesn't index at all, even under its own brand name, if you're searching it on Amazon. But if you search it under toys and games, just the GL, the general ledger, it does index. But if you're searching it under all categories, it does not index. The problem, Amazon somehow disconnected the browse node. Just one seller support phone call, and
to refresh
fixed, right? They just refresh it and it's fixed and the indexing is back. So if your PPC data doesn't seem logical, if your product doesn't index, check if you still have your BSR. Check if the browse node path appears in your product detail page. Double check the backend or the metadata. Amazon has the backend. We have the metadata. Check the metadata. If Amazon has the category there. If they don't, just quick, call to seller support. Ask for them to check if your product browse node is correctly connected to your product. If it is, okay, so that this is not a solution. This is fine, right? So then you kind of proceed, and then you literally just checking the copy. You're checking, do you have that exact phrase that you want to rank for? Are you targeting this exact phrase in your PPC? Is this exact phrase, does this phrase even have volume? Maybe you're not maybe you're not indexing there because you're not getting sales from there, or you're not getting impressions and clicks from there, intent to buy, right? But maybe you're not really getting impressions there because no one's really searching for that keyword, only yourself, right? So that could also be an option, and we had the situation as well. But usually, either fixing the category browse node, or inserting the exact match keyword into the copy. If we're talking bullet points, first 1,000, we still do the SEO for all the bullet points, not just the first 1,000, because we do believe that it indexes other places. But on Amazon, we kind of focus on the first 1,000. So if is that particular phrase in your first 1,000 keywords, right? Is this phrase in your description, or it has to be at least in one of those places? If it's in a description and it doesn't index, try to put it in your title if it's important, and you still maintain the conversion, because your title, it acts as three things, right? For the algorithm, it acts for the click-through rate. That means people actually have to click it, and then conversion rates. It helps you convert. You have to look at the customer side of you, you have to look at the algorithm side of you, and you have to look at the customer side of you who's just scrolling through the search results, right? And then the person who is in your listing already looking at your product. So it has to make sense.
That's amazing, Klaidas. Thank you very much. I think that was very detailed. I appreciate it. I think I wanted to make you that question because I know you have experience with everything that has to do with indexing. And I get those questions usually a lot. Like, I'm doing PPC, nothing happens, I'm not indexing. I usually, I'm pretty sure that implementing these steps are gonna help them solve these issues.
Or just you'd probably just need higher bids.
That's correct.
Like
sure.
if you're selling supplements or like very competitive things.
If you're not putting $5, something like that, sometimes.
These days the keywords that we see, in some cases we're paying $20 for a keyword. That's I don't think we're paying that anymore. We decided to kind of not waste the money there. Because we just calculated the customer lifelong value, and it didn't make sense for us to rank and maintain PPC on that keyword.
For sure. That's great. Like, so I think the last question I would like to make you today for sure is there any other tips or any other advice you would provide to everybody that's listening today, so they can take full advantage when it comes to launching a product? Anything that you may think in terms of ACL, PPC, anything that you want to share before we conclude today's episode?
I think something that not necessarily will help in the beginning, but will help a lot in the long term is define a good PPC structure that can define that structure that makes sense for your brand, for your business, for your product, with the ability to scale.
That's correct.
So let's say you define the structure, whether it's one product per campaign, whether it's match type per campaign, match type per ad group. Define that structure, just write it on a piece of paper, right? And how can you grow that structure? How can you add new campaigns, and what criteria do you think makes sense for you to kind of grow that? So if you have a structure in place, if you have the correct naming structure, if you have correct campaign structure, then once your kind of product grows, you start seeing new keywords. For you to add those keywords onto the existing structure, it's going to be much, much easier and much more efficient than what I was doing 7 years ago, just creating random manual campaigns and putting everything in there.
I know,
right? So
I know.
If you have a good structure, and if you have a good structure, when your business grows, then it will make sense for you to probably hire, someone to manage your PPC, or go to an agency. For an agency, it's going to be much, much easier to absorb the data, to adapt to your current structure. But you still need a structure that can be scalable. So I think this is my tip for, you will probably see the benefits from it if you're just starting out in a year.
Correct. That's
but the proper foundation, the proper structure is something that we want to make sure we do before we scale.
Yeah, for sure. I think the naming one is super key. I have seen so many accounts that they just use the generic name that Amazon gives to each campaign, and when you try to manage that, man, it's a nightmare.
We had to rename those campaigns. So
I know.
we had I think a couple of cases, but I think it was 2020. We had a case where the current campaigns they were great. We couldn't remove them. We just restructured some things, and we needed to rename around 400 or 500 campaigns and the ad groups.
Wow.
Yeah. So So
nightmare.
the new team members that we were they were on training for about 3-4 days. They just sat and renamed campaigns manually because we couldn't do it back then with bulk files.
Yeah. For sure. So another gold nugget of today: do good naming when it comes to campaigns, for sure.
Yeah.
It's gonna make your life easier in the future. That's amazing, Klaidas. So I think before we conclude, I want to give you an extra minute or so you can share with the audience where can people find you, your agency, if they want to send you a message or work with you, anything that you want to share.
Yeah. So for everyone, I suggest follow me on LinkedIn, Klaidas Siuipys. Yeah, you can see my first and last name there. Follow me on LinkedIn. I post weekly tips about Amazon, just overall, things that are happening in the space, monthly updates that Amazon kind of rolls out. So, follow me on LinkedIn there. And if you do think that, you are looking for an agency, you want us to manage you, or you just want to, jump on a call, feel free to kind of fill in the application in our website. We do take on brands that are generating at least $30,000 in revenue monthly. We do, we rarely take on new projects unless they're really innovative, patented.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And,
yeah, for sure.
That makes sense. All right. So just apply on our website or
That's
shoot
good.
me a message on LinkedIn.
I'm gonna make sure to add all those links in the description so people can find it easily. Okay.
Sounds good.
So that's amazing, Klaidas. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you being here, and
you
definitely I'm gonna have you on the next one, man. Okay. Let's keep it touch.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to meet you soon.
Yeah, me too, man.